Hey guys, so now that it's the month of Elul, we start saying this paragraph of Tehillim at the end of davening, Parak Kuf Zayin 27 of Tehillim. It starts L'David. And in L'David there's this really strange line that always bothers me. The line goes, Ki avi v'imi azavuni, v'Hashem yasveni. Because my father and mother have abandoned me and Hashem has gathered me in. And it's nice that Hashem is gathering us in, but why does David HaMelech and Tehillim have to emphasize that our parents are abandoning us? So I want to put that question aside for a second. And I want to focus on a seemingly unrelated question that comes up in a Gemara at the beginning of Masechet Kiddushin. The Gemara in Masechet Kiddushin is trying to figure out why is it that the Mishnah uses the word derech to describe marriage. The Mishnah says there are three drachim, three different ways, three different paths in which a person gets married. And the Gemara says, wouldn't it make more sense to use the word davar instead of the word derech? Not that there are three paths a person takes to get married, but rather there are three things a person does to get married. Why use the word derech, path, ways, instead of the word davar? So in an attempt to answer this question, the Gemara brings an analogy. That's a very strange analogy, and it's unclear how exactly it answers the question. The Gemara says that the reason why the Torah says ki yikach ishisha, that a man takes a woman, instead of the other way around, a woman takes a man when it's describing marriage, the reason why the man is taking the woman is because if a person loses a lost item, the Ba'al Aveda, the person who owns the lost item, he goes searching after the Aveda, he searches for the lost item, and not the other way around. The Aveda doesn't go searching for the Ba'al Aveda. What in the world is going on over here? So Rashi steps in to try to explain. And he says two words. Rashi, when commenting on the word Aveda, what is this lost item that's being lost in our analogy? Rashi says the words Achat mitzalotav, one of his ribs. This person who lost something lost one of his ribs, and he's looking for one of his ribs. What in the world is going on? So the imagery should take us back to Parshas Bereshis. In the very beginning of creation, on the sixth day, Hashem made Adam. Hashem made a man. And that man was very lonely because every other living creature had a partner, but Adam didn't have a partner. So Hashem put Adam in this deep sleep and reached into Adam and took out, the Torah says, Achat mitzalotav, one of his ribs, and shaped that rib into Chava, the first woman who became Adam's partner. And then the Torah describes what's supposed to happen. Right now, Adam and Chava are two separate entities. But eventually in the future, Al-Kain Ya'azov Ish et Aviv Yatimo, V'davak bi'ishto, a man is going to cling to his wife, V'hayu levasar achad, and they're going to become one flesh. So what's going on in our Gemara in Kiddushin? The Gemara is describing marriage as a person searching for a lost item, as a man searching for his lost rib. Essentially, the imagery that the Gemara creates is that a man and woman were once one, and they got separated, like Adam's rib was separated from him. And the goal of marriage is to reform that union that once existed so many years ago. And that's why that's why the Mishnah uses the word derech, that it's a pathway, it's a journey to describe marriage, and not just it's a davar, it's not just a thing you do, because marriage isn't just a one-time thing that you do. Two people meet and decide they want to get married, and they get married. But no, marriage is the conclusion of a lifelong journey of searching. The two people have been missing their other half for so long, halves that were once together and then were separated, and they're looking for their lost half, and then they eventually find it. And it's the conclusion of that journey. It's the end of that derech, when the two halves that were once lost now come together and reunite and become whole. Marriage isn't just a thing that happens, but it's the natural conclusion of the journey. That this is the way these things are supposed to be. This man and this woman are supposed to be together, just like a person is supposed to be with his rib. It's the end of this journey, and this conclusion is natural. It makes sense. This is the way that things are supposed to be. It's not creating something new, but it's recreating what once was. It's getting back to a natural state. It's getting back to what is normal and what is supposed to be. Why do I bring this up? Because the pasuk that the Torah uses to describe marriage in Parshas Bereshis, it sounds very familiar. Ki avi al-kain ya'azov ish et aviv yatimo. Then a man is going to abandon his father and his mother. Where have I heard this before? In L'David. It's almost the exact same words as Ki avi v'imi azavuni, when we say that my mother and my father have abandoned me. David HaMelech is using almost the exact same language, except the psukim end differently. In Bereshis, it goes Al-Kain Ya'azov Ish et Aviv Yatimo, v'davak bi'ishto v'hayula basar echad. And then man, after abandoning his father and mother, is going to cling to his wife, and they're going to become one unit, one flesh. But in Tehillim, it's ki avi v'imi azavuni, that my father and mother have abandoned me, and then v'Hashem ya'asveni, and Hashem has gathered me up. The endings are totally different, even though they both start with the abandonment of your parents. In Bereshis, the conclusion is clinging to your wife, and in Tehillim, the conclusion is clinging to Hashem. But maybe, just maybe, what David HaMelech is doing, by utilizing the language of your parents abandoning you in Tehillim, seemingly unnecessarily, he's trying to draw our attention to the connection to Bereshis. And David HaMelech is telling us that the ends of these psukim, which seemingly are different, are actually the same. That just like a person is supposed to cling to their spouse, v'hayula basar echad, and become one flesh, that's what v'Hashem yasveni is. That's what Hashem gathering you up is. You're supposed to cling to Hashem and become one with Hashem. And what David HaMelech is teaching us is that our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is modeled after a marriage, is modeled after a relationship with a spouse. And just like we described your relationship with your spouse isn't something that just happens, it's not a davar, it's not a thing that one day you wake up and you meet this person and you decide you want to now create this union that didn't exist before. But no, it's the conclusion of a journey. It's the natural destination, because you two were once one unit and then you were split. Now you have to reunite and reconnect something that's naturally supposed to be there. That's the same thing with our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That this is a relationship that's natural and supposed to be, and when we're distant, that's unnatural, that's not normal. And when we restore our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we're not creating something new, but rather we're returning to something that once existed, and this is the way it's supposed to be. Rav Kook describes in Oros HaTshuva that that's exactly what tshuva is. Tshuva isn't creating something new. You're not creating a new version of yourself. But rather, this is the version of yourself that exists. The natural version of yourself, the way that Hashem created you, is a person who's perfect and a person who has a complete and natural relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you veered off that path. And tshuva is not about creating a version of yourself that has never existed before, but rather tshuva is about returning to your roots and going back to this person who was before. And it's so much easier now, because it's no longer impossible, because you've done it in the past, and you just have to be able to do it again. You're returning to a place that you've been at before, and not creating something new, but just restoring a previous version of yourself. And our relationship with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not something that is completely new and completely foreign to us. We're not trying to forge something new, but rather trying to restore a union that once existed, that still does exist. It just may be buried under layers of dirt and layers of filth and mistakes that we need to try to rectify in order to get that relationship back to the place that it once was, and it was once there. We're now in the month of Elul. And traditionally, Elul is an acronym for Ani Lidodi Vidodi Li, that I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me. This month is about restoring our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because that's what tshuva is all about. And we take this line, Ani Lidodi Vidodi Li, which is a line from Shir HaShirim, which is describing a marriage between a man and a woman, but is really a metaphor for our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because the two of them are the same. That just like a marriage is a derech, it's a natural journey, and it's a man who lost his rib and is trying to find his lost rib, because the conclusion of a marriage is a man and a woman getting back to this union that always existed and was always supposed to be, and the two were incomplete without their other half, and now they finally found their other halves, and now they're finally able to be complete again. That's how we're supposed to view our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That Hashem without us and us without Hashem, both of us are incomplete. And the month of Elul is about restoring that relationship and finding our missing half and getting that relationship back to the place of perfection. And we're concluding that journey, that derech, and rekindling this flame and starting this marriage again and finding our missing halves and getting ourselves back to the place that we're supposed to be in our relationship with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a place that's normal and a place that's natural. And it's not impossible, because we're not trying to recreate something new, but we're just trying to recreate something that once existed, so we know for a fact that it's possible. We're all going to work on this together in the month of Elul, to restore our personal relationships with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu and our communal and national relationships with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and get the world back to the place where it's supposed to be. We have a month. We got this. Good luck. Everyone have an amazing Chodesh. Bye-bye.